Strong women don't waste their energy fighting with toxic people. They outsmart them. And the truth is, toxic people thrive on chaos, on manipulation, on getting under your skin. They want you reactive, emotional, and defensive because that's how they gain control. But a strong woman knows her worth, and she refuses to hand her power over so cheaply. She doesn't take the bait, no matter how many insults, guilt trips, or games are thrown her way. She stays composed because she understands this simple rule. The one who stays calm always holds the advantage. Boundaries are her shield. When someone tries to push too far, she makes it clear. This is not acceptable. That line is firm, and it doesn't move just because someone doesn't like it. And when the pressure rises, she doesn't raise her voice, she lowers her emotions. That calm, unshaken presence is exactly what exposes the chaos of toxic people. Their words don't penetrate because she refuses to internalize their poison. She knows it's never about her, it's always about them. And if the situation demands it, she will walk away without hesitation, because peace will always be more valuable than proving a point. Strong women don't engage in battles with toxic people because they understand that the fight itself is the trap. Toxic people are fueled by drama, by provoking reactions, by pulling others into their storm. They test your patience, they push your buttons, they want you to lose control so they can feel like they've won. But strength isn't found in shouting back or proving them wrong. It's found in refusing to give them what they want. It's about discipline, composure, and knowing you don't owe anyone access to your peace. When you recognize your value, you stop letting negativity drag you down. You realize that not everyone deserves a response, and silence can often be the most powerful weapon. Strength is not aggression. It's strategy. It's the ability to stand firm, grounded in who you are, without being shaken by the chaos around you. Toxic people want you to fight in their arena, but a strong woman never steps onto that field. Instead, she sets her own terms, her own boundaries, and operates with clarity. She knows her energy is better spent on growth, progress, and building, not on giving attention to people who thrive on destruction. Strong women don't waste their lives wrestling with toxic people because they understand that fighting them is exactly what those people want. Toxic people thrive when they can get a rise out of you, when they can push your buttons and trigger an emotional reaction. That's their game. It's about control. The moment you lash out, lose your calm, or get dragged into their chaos, you've handed them exactly what they were seeking: power over your emotions. But strong women know better. They know that silence, composure, and self-restraint are stronger than any words spoken in anger. They don't take the bait. They don't give toxic people the satisfaction of knowing they've touched a nerve. They stay centered, grounded, and in control, which instantly shifts the power dynamic. This is where true strength comes in, the ability to keep your emotions in check. Toxic people want you defensive. They want you explaining yourself. They want you breaking your own character just to prove a point. But instead of reacting, strong women observe. They listen, they analyze, and they choose their response carefully. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. That calm stare, that unbothered energy, it unsettles toxic people because it shows they have no influence. And when someone cannot control you emotionally, they eventually lose interest because their tactics no longer work. Boundaries play a critical role in this. Strong women don't let others cross lines unchecked. They are crystal clear about what is acceptable and what is not. And the beauty of a boundary is that it doesn't need an argument. It just needs enforcement. A strong woman doesn't beg someone to respect her. She commands respect by how she carries herself and how she responds to violations. When she says no, she means it. When she says, "This behavior is not acceptable," she stands by it without wavering, even if it costs her the relationship, the job, or the approval of others. Because at the end of the day, she values her peace more than anyone's validation. And here's the truth: walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. A toxic person will try to frame your departure as cowardice, but in reality, it is one of the strongest moves you can make. You're choosing to protect your space, your mind, and your energy. rather than wasting it on someone who feeds off conflict. Walking away sends a louder message than any argument could. You don't have access to me anymore. That is power. That is strength. Strong women also understand that toxic words and toxic behavior are never a reflection of them. They are projections of the other person's insecurity, fear, and pain. They refuse to internalize negativity because they know it doesn't belong to them. Instead of carrying that poison, they release it. They don't let it define them or dictate their worth. They choose to invest their energy into growth, into becoming better, sharper, and more resilient. Because when you stop feeding toxicity, you starve it. And when you rise above it, you win without ever stepping into the fight. Strong women know that toxic people can only operate where there are no boundaries. A toxic person will always push, always test, always see how far they can go. And if you allow it once, they'll keep taking, they'll keep demanding, they'll keep disrespecting. That's why boundaries are not optional. They're non-negotiable. A boundary is not about being cruel, it's about teaching others how you expect to be treated. And a strong woman doesn't apologize for drawing those lines because she knows that without them, people will drain her energy, erode her peace, and weaken her sense of self. When she sets a boundary, she does it with clarity and firmness. There's no hesitation, no wavering, no long explanation to justify why she's doing it. She says, "This is not acceptable." And she means it. She doesn't need to shout or become aggressive. Her consistency is what makes the message powerful. Toxic people thrive on finding cracks in your resolve, so if you bend your rules once, they'll push harder the next time. A strong woman doesn't bend. She holds her ground, even when it makes others uncomfortable, even when it costs her relationships. Because she understands that a relationship built on disrespect is no relationship worth keeping. Boundaries are also about protecting energy. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to yourself. Strong women don't hand out yeses to keep the peace because they know that peace bought at the expense of their self-respect is not peace at all. They value their time, their mental space, and their emotional well-being. And if someone tries to cross those lines, they enforce the boundary without guilt. They don't get pulled into endless justifications or manipulated into feeling bad for standing their ground. They know that guilt is one of the favorite tools of toxic people, and they refuse to fall for it. And make no mistake, toxic people will test boundaries. They'll call you selfish. They'll accuse you of being cold. They'll try to shame you into giving them what they want. But strong women don't back down under pressure. They see through the tactic. They recognize that those labels are nothing more than a last-ditch attempt to regain control, and instead of shrinking, they grow firmer. They let their no be no, their line be final. That unwavering consistency sends a message louder than words. You cannot control me. You cannot disrespect me. You will not cross this line. And sometimes boundaries mean complete removal. It means cutting someone out, stepping away, refusing access altogether. That decision isn't easy, but it's necessary, because strong women don't negotiate their self-worth. They understand that protecting their peace is not selfish, it's survival. They would rather stand alone with dignity than surrounded by people who chip away at their strength. That is the power of a boundary. It doesn't just keep toxic people out, it keeps your integrity, your confidence, and your self-respect intact. Strong women know that power is not about who speaks the loudest, who argues the hardest, or who wins the last word. Real power is in composure. When pressure rises, when someone is trying to provoke, manipulate, or push them over the edge, they don't explode. They stay calm. That calmness is not weakness, it's discipline. It's the ability to remain centered even when someone else is trying to throw you off balance. Toxic people thrive on chaos. They feed on reactions. The moment you lose your temper, they gain control. But when you remain composed, when your voice is steady, when your face doesn't flinch, you take that control away. Calmness is psychological warfare. It unsettles toxic people because they expect you to break. They expect yelling, tears, defensiveness. When none of that comes, they lose their grip. Silence becomes your weapon. A steady tone becomes your armor. And every second you remain unshaken, they feel smaller, weaker, and exposed. This is why strong women master self-control. They don't allow another person to dictate their emotional state. They decide when to speak, how to speak, and if they should speak at all. That choice keeps them in command of the moment. But staying calm doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean you accept mistreatment or allow disrespect. It means you're deliberate. You choose a response that serves you instead of one that feeds them. Maybe that response is a simple, firm statement. I won't engage with you like this. Maybe it's nothing at all, just walking away without giving them the satisfaction of a fight. Every choice is intentional, never reactive. That is what separates strength from weakness, not needing to prove yourself in the heat of chaos. And here's the truth. Calmness is harder than anger. It takes training, it takes awareness, and it takes confidence in yourself. Anyone can shout, anyone can slam a door, anyone can lose their cool. But it takes a strong woman to stand tall, breathe, and remain steady when someone is trying to tear her down. That kind of control shows a toxic person they cannot touch you. Their words don't land. Their tactics don't shake you. Their chaos doesn't become yours. When you stay calm under pressure, you protect more than just your peace. You protect your credibility, your authority, and your dignity. You show others and yourself that you are not someone who can be easily manipulated. And that presence, that unbreakable composure, is what makes toxic people back off. Because the truth is this: once they realize they can't move you, they can't control you. And once they can't control you, they lose their power. Strong women know that the words and actions of toxic people are never truly about them. They are a reflection of the toxic person's own insecurities, fears, and weaknesses. When someone tries to tear you down with criticism, insults, or passive-aggressive behavior, it's easy to take it personally and start questioning yourself. But a strong woman understands that internalizing that negativity is the exact trap toxic people want you to fall into. They want their words to echo in your mind long after the conversation is over. They want you second-guessing your worth, your decisions, your confidence. That is how they gain control, by planting seeds of doubt. But strength is choosing not to water those seeds. Strength is saying, your words don't belong to me, they belong to you. This is a mindset shift that changes everything. Instead of absorbing every negative comment, strong women step back and analyze, is this about me or is this about them? More often than not, it's about them. Toxic people project their own pain, jealousy, or insecurity onto others. When they call you selfish, it's because they can't handle your boundaries. When they call you arrogant, it's because they feel small in your presence. When they call you cold, it's because you won't give them the reaction they're fishing for. None of it reflects your character. It only exposes theirs. A strong woman refuses to let these projections sink into her identity. She doesn't let toxic words replay in her head like a broken record. Instead, she filters them. She asks herself, does this come from someone whose opinion I value? Does this come from someone who genuinely has my best interest at heart? If the answer is no, then those words are discarded immediately, like trash at the doorstep. She knows better than to let poison linger in her system. But this isn't just about ignoring negativity, it's about redefining it. Every insult, every dig, every attempt to cut her down becomes evidence of the other person's weakness, not her own. She sees it for what it really is, a desperate attempt to project their issues onto her. And once you see it that way, it loses its sting. You stop carrying the weight of someone else's dysfunction. You stop letting their bitterness become your burden. This is where real freedom comes from. Because when you no longer internalize negativity, you become untouchable. You can be in the same room as a toxic person and not absorb an ounce of their poison. Their words may come at you, but they don't land. Their energy may try to pull you in, but you don't engage. You walk out of the situation with your peace intact, your confidence unshaken, and your focus still on what matters most: your growth, your goals, and your strength. That is the quiet power of refusing to internalize what was never yours to carry. Strong women understand that walking away is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. It is one of the hardest decisions to make because it requires you to let go of the need to be understood, the need to win, and the need to prove yourself right. But the truth is, toxic people will never see reason. They are not interested in solutions or fairness. They are interested in control. They want you stuck in their game, trapped in the endless cycle of defending yourself, explaining yourself, and exhausting yourself. And that is exactly why walking away is such a powerful move. It's the refusal to play. Walking away is not about running. It's not about avoiding confrontation. It's about making a deliberate choice. I will not allow this to drain me. I will not give my time, my mind, or my energy to someone who does not value it. It's the understanding that peace is more valuable than being right. And in that moment, walking away becomes a declaration of self-respect. It says, I know my worth and I will not waste it here. That choice sends a louder message than any argument ever could. But make no mistake, walking away is difficult because the ego wants to stay and fight. The ego wants to prove a point, to have the last word, to expose the other person's lies. And that's exactly what toxic people count on. They lure you into the battle, knowing that once you step into their arena, they control the rules. A strong woman doesn't step into that arena. She doesn't need the validation of winning against someone who was never fighting fair to begin with. She chooses her dignity over her ego every single time. Sometimes walking away means ending a conversation in the moment. Sometimes it means stepping out of a relationship entirely. And sometimes it means creating distance quietly, without announcements, without drama, without needing anyone's approval. She doesn't owe explanations to people who thrive on her silence being broken. She simply removes herself, and in doing so, she reclaims her power. And here's what's important. Walking away is not about the other person. It's about you. It's about protecting your emotional well-being, preserving your energy for the things and people that deserve it. It's about refusing to let someone else dictate your state of mind. Strong women know that peace is not something you stumble upon. It is something you protect, something you guard, something you defend. And sometimes the best defense is simply removing yourself from the battlefield. The real power of walking away is that it closes the door toxic people keep trying to push open. It denies them the chaos they crave. It starves them of the reaction they need. And in the end, it shows them something they cannot stand to face. Their power over you no longer exists. Strong women understand that having standards is not negotiable. They know that their time, their energy, and their self-respect are priceless, and they refuse to lower the bar for anyone who does not treat them with the dignity they deserve. Toxic people will try to frame these standards as arrogance, selfishness, or coldness, because they are not accustomed to someone who enforces boundaries consistently. They expect others to bend, to compromise their peace, to tolerate disrespect, and when a strong woman refuses to do so, they attempt to shame her into compliance. But a strong woman does not apologize for her standards because she knows they are a reflection of her self-worth, not an attack on anyone else. Setting standards is not about controlling others. It's about controlling yourself and your environment. It's about making clear what you will and will not accept, and then living in alignment with that clarity. When someone crosses those standards, she does not negotiate or make excuses. She does not debate her right to be treated with respect. She simply enforces the boundaries she has set. This consistency is what makes her unshakable. Toxic people can try to manipulate, guilt, or intimidate her, but they quickly realize that her standards are immovable. Maintaining standards also means being selective with relationships and interactions. A strong woman invests in people who elevate her, who respect her boundaries, and who align with her values. She recognizes that not everyone deserves a place in her life, and she is unapologetic about that. Toxic people, by contrast, thrive in environments where rules are blurred and boundaries are weak. The moment a strong woman refuses to allow disrespect or manipulation, she forces them to either change or walk away. Her standards act as both shield and signal. They protect her while communicating clearly that she will not tolerate anything less than respect, honesty, and integrity. A strong woman's refusal to apologize for her standards is also a psychological tactic. Toxic people feed on guilt and attempts to enforce conformity. By standing firm, she denies them the emotional leverage they seek. Her confidence, consistency, and clarity disrupt their control, leaving them frustrated because they realize their tactics no longer work. She demonstrates through action, not argument, that her self-worth is non-negotiable. Ultimately, refusing to apologize for standards is about prioritizing self-respect over approval. It is about recognizing that pleasing everyone is impossible and unnecessary, and that her peace, dignity, and integrity are far more valuable than any fleeting agreement or validation from someone who does not respect her boundaries. She embodies strength, not through aggression, but through steadfastness, demonstrating that true power lies in knowing your value and never compromising it, regardless of who challenges you or what pressure they bring. Strong women understand that focusing on growth is far more powerful than wasting time on gossip. They know that energy is finite, and every minute spent dissecting someone else's behavior, spreading rumors, or trying to fix a toxic person is energy stolen from their own progress. Toxic people thrive on attention. They want you caught in the web of their drama, analyzing every slight, replaying every word, obsessing over what they said or did. But a strong woman refuses to give them that satisfaction. She channels her energy into things that matter: her goals, her personal development, her ambitions, and the people who genuinely lift her up. Growth requires focus, discipline, and clarity. It requires choosing actions that build your future instead of reactions that keep you stuck in someone else's chaos. Strong women recognize that gossip is not harmless. It is a trap. It entangles you in negativity, distracts you from your purpose, and can even compromise your integrity. When someone tries to draw her into drama, she sees it for what it is: a distraction. She doesn't need to explain, defend, or debate. She simply redirects her energy toward learning, creating, and advancing. Her attention is too valuable to waste on someone else's toxicity. By focusing on growth, a strong woman builds resilience. She invests in herself emotionally, mentally, and physically. She reads, she learns, she trains, she plans, she executes. Every action she takes is deliberate, every decision made with intention. Toxic people, by contrast, act without purpose, creating chaos for the sake of control. When she refuses to engage with their chaos, they lose power because their manipulations rely on reaction. The stronger she becomes, the more ineffective their tactics become. This focus on growth also serves as a shield against negativity. When your mind is occupied with meaningful work, there's no room for bitterness or resentment to take root. Strong women know that gossip and obsession over toxic behavior can slowly erode self-esteem, confidence, and clarity. By prioritizing personal development over petty drama, they remain untouchable. They continue to evolve while others stagnate in the cycles of manipulation and complaint. Moreover, focusing on growth allows strong women to see toxic people objectively rather than emotionally. They observe patterns, understand motivations, and learn lessons without getting personally entangled. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice patience, assert boundaries, and reinforce self-respect. She doesn't react impulsively or seek revenge. Instead, she uses insight and strategy to navigate challenges, preserving her peace while simultaneously becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable. Ultimately, strong women understand that their journey is their own. They measure success by progress, achievement, and fulfillment, not by the drama of others. They know that gossip may momentarily feel satisfying, but it never contributes to lasting strength, confidence, or purpose. Every moment spent on growth compounds over time, creating a life built on resilience, clarity, and self-respect, while leaving the toxicity of others behind. Toxic people live for reactions. Their power comes from the moment you respond with anger, frustration, or self-doubt. They are skilled at spotting insecurities, pushing buttons, and testing limits because the chaos you generate feeds their sense of control. But a strong woman understands this psychological game. She knows that giving them a reaction is handing over her power. She refuses to play by their rules, and in doing so, she strips them of the leverage they crave. Silence, composure, and measured responses become her tools, not just for defense, but for influence. The more she maintains her equilibrium, the more the toxic person's manipulations unravel. Boundaries are another critical part of this psychological strategy. When a strong woman sets clear lines, she communicates self-respect and strength without needing to justify herself. Toxic people are challenged by boundaries because boundaries remove the uncertainty they rely on to manipulate others. When she does not react as expected, when she enforces her standards consistently, the toxic individual begins to lose confidence, realizing their tactics no longer work. By mastering her emotional response and maintaining her boundaries, a strong woman takes control of the dynamic entirely, turning what could have been a struggle for power into an environment where she remains unshakable and in command. Being strong doesn't mean being loud. It doesn't mean dominating a conversation or forcing others to recognize your power. True strength is far subtler, far more disciplined, and infinitely more effective. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone undermine it. Strong women don't need to shout to be heard. Their presence alone commands respect. Every step they take, every choice they make, every boundary they enforce speaks volumes about who they are and what they value. Strength is not performance, it's principle. Holding your boundaries is not rudeness, it's self-respect. It's the understanding that your time, your energy, and your peace are non-negotiable. When someone attempts to overstep or manipulate, a strong woman doesn't argue endlessly or beg for understanding. She calmly asserts her limits and expects them to be honored. That assertion, repeated consistently, sends a clear message. She will not tolerate disrespect. She will not compromise her standards, and she will not surrender her peace for anyone. This is where fearlessness comes into play. The courage to remain unshaken when faced with confrontation, criticism, or chaos. Protecting your peace is not passive, it's active. Every time you refuse to react to provocation, every time you walk away rather than engage in needless conflict, every time you choose your growth over gossip or drama, you are exercising your power. You are reclaiming control over your environment, over your emotions, and over your life. Toxic people lose their influence the moment they realize you will not participate in their games. And that is the essence of empowerment. The ability to maintain clarity, composure, and focus while the world around you tries to unravel you. Being strong means prioritizing yourself without guilt, nurturing your goals without apology, and choosing your battles strategically rather than impulsively. It means refusing to internalize negativity, refusing to let manipulations define your reality, and refusing to let chaos infiltrate your calm. It's about building resilience through self-awareness, discipline, and unwavering confidence in your worth. Strength is knowing when to engage, when to enforce, and when to step back. It is mastery of the self in a world that often seeks to control, distract, or diminish you. A strong woman's power lies not in aggression, but in her unwavering commitment to her values, her boundaries, and her peace. She does not fight to prove dominance. She rises above, she holds steady, and she commands respect through action, integrity, and intentionality. Toxic people lose their power the moment she refuses to play their game, because she understands that her strength is not dictated by their behavior. It is inherent, unshakable, and absolute.